individual, one indivisible.
One individual Kenyan.
Okay.
He did not look at Kenyans in the sense of the global. He looked at an individual Kenyan. How did he do that? He focused on very many policies which ensured that the Kenyan is touched by his leadership wherever they are. And in many aspects. I'll just touch one or two of them. Look at the education sector.
He expanded it.
He exponentially expanded the education sector as to ensure that as many students as possible enrolled in primary schools in Kenya. And that the transition rate between primary school and secondary school grew in bounds.
Leaps and bounds. And
the transition between secondary school to university was over 150%. If you look at 1978 and 2002, and we look at transition rates between primary school and secondary school, and now the university system where he had already changed to 844 system, you see a huge transformation of opportunities for young Kenyans. In fact, now when people talk about the certificates and degrees and technical skills which Kenyans got, we can only look back and think about the transformations which were brought by President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. That is just in the education sector. If you look at the number of students who came especially from marginalized, the so-called marginalized communities, okay, you see huge numbers. And those who are disadvantaged or marginalized communities, you see people from the northern Kenya, you see people from the coast, you see people from those so-called marginalized areas,
Upper Rift Valley,
the Njemps, the Tugans, where he came from.
Marakwet.
The Marakwet, the Pokots, the Turkana. So for the first time, those people after he took over in 10 years, they were celebrating having engineers who they have never had. Doctors who they had never had. Pilots who they have, courtesy of the President Moi. So that is in the education sector. Number two, within the education sector, he started affirmative action. And this affirmative action was not only for the marginalized, but it was for the girl child. So for him, girl child empowerment was at the forefront. Not only in the political arena or elsewhere, but in education, because he had this realization that you can only have a lady, a girl, high in the civil service, within the public service, who is educated. So what do? You subsidize this, you introduce cutoff points for girls from those areas. So we now had girls from northern Kenya, we had girls from coast, we had girls from all those marginalized coming to university to study even what was not, they were not able to study at that time, medicine, engineering, all those opportunities, law and all that. Yes. And that ensured that then they will come to the senior positions within government and be able to serve not only Kenya, but their communities where they came from. So that was a big win. And that is within education. And also they were able to produce professors. They were able to produce other experts and even export within the region. So, and that was the contribution of the president. Now, when you come to other social sectors, within development practice, he introduced what we used to call, I don't know whether you remember, district focus for rural development.
Yes.
Now, district focus for rural development focused, and I said before, on the individual. You know, now we have the counties, and people will think that the counties, in terms of philosophy and communication practice or development practice, just started the other day. President Moi had started the district focus for rural development, where development was initiated and the Center for Development was at the district as of that time. And if you remember very well, even our counties were just based on those districts.
Yes.
So really, when we are talking about counties and them being the focus of development, then these counties the former president had already seen this as a devolution concept of taking, leadership and development really to the people. So he started this, and when this was started, it benefited Kenyans in very many ways. One of those things, as a young man, I saw, which I have never seen before, is the agricultural sector. The agricultural sector got a boom through the district focus for rural development. And more than ever before, I have never seen many extension workers in the rural areas.
Technical assistance.
Technical assistance. Yes, to the farmers and farming communities. Yeah. That is the time when you had the farmers training. I don't know whether you remember. Farmers training centers strewn all over the country. And they were almost in every other center or every other district. And farmers really benefited from technical expertise of training in these centers and getting extension services at their homes. So this was another plus. The former president also, through KANU, started a social movement. And the social movement was known as KANU Maendeleo ya Wanawake. You know, we might see it, Speaker, as something which was very small. This was a social movement to emancipate and move women towards, leadership positions, towards educating them, towards participation in the electoral process and in the political processes of the country. If you ask me where that went, it is slowly, we have slowly moved away from those things, and now the emancipation and the involvement of women within politics is a matter of debate. We talk about it in terms of, the other day we've been trying to have the 2/3 gender rule. I don't know where it is. It is no longer in practice, and yet it's a constitutional requirement. But the president thought in his own wisdom that the only way you emancipate and ensure women are involved from the grassroots to the national level is to have a wing within the political party called KANU, to create the awareness
to
from
educate
the villages,
them, to get the girl child
and the girl child and their involvement up to the national level. And that is something which I have been meeting women leaders, and they have been saying this was a plus, and we are missing this kind of wing, either within the government or within the political movement we have, which can emancipate, educate people from the villages up to the national level. So really, those are two things within the political economy of the country and the social movements which the president started within the education sector and within development of the nation, which I can identify quickly as those which I saw. Of course, I cannot forget what I took in school, otherwise known as the milk program. What they
You were a beneficiary of that?
Yes, I was a beneficiary of the Nyayo milk. And this Nyayo milk is like what we have, sometimes we have sporadically happening within the ASAL areas, the school feeding program.
Yes.
And the school feeding program
started with him.
Yes, started with him, which was supposed to help what
you call nomadic children.
Nomadic children.
Yes.
To attend school.
To attend
it was an
school,
incentive.
because if they get one square meal in a day and they get some little bit of a milk,
they are good.
Good to go.
Yes. So this increased access and retention within the school system, which of course had all the benefits.
He expanded on high school, secondary education.
School, and which also moved, you remember, even the Higher Education Loans Board.
Yes.
The way it started during his time, and it was supposed to help students from poor backgrounds to access university education without necessarily feeling disadvantaged. So within the education sector, the former president really did a lot. And within the social sectors, as I've just given
he united the country.
Completely.
He did not have a very narrow focus. For example, I remember very well, as a young child, we would be brought all the way from Garissa to come and entertain our first president
right here.
In Gatundu.
Yes.
You people did not have to go through that.
Yes. No. We didn't.
And those children, those young children, primary school kids, will be out there literally shouting themselves,
Yeah.
thirsty and hungry and the rest of it.
Yeah.
We never used to get anything. You don't get drinks, you don't get a meal.
For that, yeah.
You don't get any, you forget about the adults who came
Yeah,
there to
yeah,
entertain
yeah,
the first head of state in the country. But those children would leave that place very hungry.
Yes.
And in the evening is the only time when they have an opportunity to be given
eat something.
to eat something, if the headmasters and the school administration had done that kind of a preparation. Exit Kenyatta, enter Moi. And then what do we have? Feastings. Literally, everybody who comes
Will feast.
will feast in that place.
Yes. And that was not only feasting at home.
Yes.
It will be feasting literally everywhere.
Yes, and yeah, okay. At that time, many of us would much later look at it and say, no, this is some kind of creating a patronage and Harambe and all these things should be abolished, which we managed finally to have it completely
in law. Yeah.
in law.
Yeah.
And the rest of it, so much now a public officer is not allowed to come and officiate of a Harambe. But the Harambe was by and large, forget about the political aspect of it and how people, steal money from the treasury in the country and then try and build